Today we are talking about the next god coming to Smite being Olorun. We already had a fair bit of information about him in the past, but this kid is even crazier than I initially expected. Not only does he have the crit effect, he can also slow time and various other things. We'll talk about that in detail. HiRez released a blog post about that and we are going to go through that and discuss everything that is in there. So the blog post is, as usual, called Olorun, a closer look. Who is Olorun? Olorun is the ruler of the heavens, a supreme god, a powerful and mysterious force. Olorun is not the god of one specific thing like the rest. Instead, he is an all-encompassing symbol of divinity and creation itself. Our vision. Olorun branches out Smite into yet another new culture, West Africa. Africa is an extremely diverse continent with an abundance of different environments, people and mythologies. We chose to focus on, excuse my pronunciation here, Yoruba culture for our new pantheon. Yoruba mythology originates in West Africa, primarily from the country of Nigeria, but also followed in neighboring countries. Yoruba deities are known as orishas. They are the intermediates between humans and the supernatural. Each orisha has a specific domain that they oversee, except for Olorun. Olorun is the creator of all things, even the other orishas. He has three manifestations: Olorun, ruler of the heavens, Olodumare, the creator, and Olofi, the conduit between heaven and earth. Olorun is especially unique in that he is seen as a distant god. He does not directly participate in human rituals, nor does he have any shrines or sacrifices dedicated to him. We focused on these aspects to inspire his visuals, abilities, and personality. Theme: Cosmic Celestial Light. Visuals: divinely powerful African man, African clothing with fantasy and magic. Personality: stoic, fair, just. Perspective: awe-inspiring, mysterious, powerful. Olorun is the winner of the battle for Olympus. His distant nature puts him in the perfect spot to be a leader. He has no history, no bias, no squabbles with the other gods of Smite. He is truly neutral, fair, and a bringer of justice. His personality alone does not convince the other gods to follow him, but his powers will. Olorun's divine cosmic magic is awe-inspiring to the other gods, and his ability to stifle conflicts are quickly demonstrated. The visual direction for this god was no easy task. The process started much earlier than most gods do. Many early iterations were gone through trying to find the key aspects of traditional West African clothing to incorporate into the god's visual concept. Robes were commonly worn, especially among leaders, so this was the primary focus for our new mage. We wanted to skew his visuals slightly more towards fantasy rather than history, to make sure he felt unique and fit in well among the current god roster. Earlier art iteration explored many variations. The ideas of divinity or cosmic power are not easy to depict, so many things were tried. We ended up with a wonderful concept that features a heroic robed man adorned with magical floating golden elements. Olorun had been found. Now I gotta say, with most of these concepts, that I think they don't look all too different from each other. Sure, there are slight nuances in how the robes look exactly, for example, but overall, it seems that the concept of what he was supposed to be like was established very early, unless there were even earlier versions of the exploration that were simply not shown here. With some of these, you actually have to look very closely to even find any differences. By the way, the final version that you see here is actually not quite the final version as well, as we can see from his later card art, as he ended up getting a beard as well, along with some other very minor changes. Continuing with the article, this god needed to be the pinnacle of divinity. From a quick glance, we wanted people to understand his tone and personality. His sense of justice, his control over his emotions, and his divine power can all be felt simply by looking at him. The new king of the gods is truly a sight to behold. As impressive as his visuals are, his abilities are somehow even more impressive. Olorun was designed as a mage carry, which the design team felt complemented his core themes the best. It gave his distant and divine power a more tangible feel to show his strength as well as his knowledge at the same time. It also happened to be a playstyle that has gone a long time without a new god. We only have 3 magical hunters right now, or magical ADCs, so this is very much true, and I know people have been asking for a new ADC in general. His kit became focused around that theme. Divine magic focused into tangible effects. The design team wanted to make sure he felt like a hunter, although he would be dealing magical damage. The design team focused on new ways to make a mage feel like a hunter, especially through new types of stim or self-buffing effects. Those aspects of his kit were complemented by abilities that help empower his team. This design direction had 2 goals: to make him feel different from other hunters and mage carries, and to reinforce his nature of pacifism and justice. Although we feel great about his abilities, they still pale in comparison to Olorun's ultimate ability. This god finally brings a mechanic into the game that has been prototyped and scrapped over and over again for years: the ability to slow time. Olorun's ultimate will create a sanctified area that slows all enemies in the area. And this time, when we say slow, we don't just mean the movement speed debuff, we mean time itself. Enemies in the area will animate slower, move slower, be knocked through the air slower, CC, buff and debuff duration will last longer, heals and damage over time will tick slower, deployables will deploy slower, projectiles will move slower, towers will shoot slower, jungle bosses will attack slower, and even more interactions will be affected. This field will also speed up Olorun himself and will interact with each of his abilities while he is in the field. The field has no effect on allies, only enemies and self. Now we already have a lot of things to unpack at this point, but we'll save that for when we have heard about the rest of the kit as well. At this moment, just a quick reminder, if you enjoyed the video so far, feel free to click the like button, it really helps me out. As a mage carry, he is intended to play best from duo lane with a possible flex into middle lane. He was designed with heavy counterplay in mind. Enemies who learn Olorun's visual cues and learn the unique interactions with his kit will find more success when facing this new foe. Olorun's unique gameplay features are the new Pantheon, of course, the first mage in SMITE whose basic attack can critically hit, though it should be noted that it seems to be tied to something else. It's not just a default crit as far as I understand it. It's not something that's itemized similar. A charge up ability that increases in range as it charges. This is something you might, for example, be familiar with if you've played Battle Rite in the past. A new type of stim that charges up an ability that can be refired with the same key and can be charged over multiple uses of the effect. This one is a bit unclear to me what part can be refired. Can the stim be refired so you can stack up the stim, or the ability can be refired? And yeah, I'm not quite sure how this will work out, so we'll have to see what exactly is behind that. A mage carry that can heal allies. Also an interesting approach. A true time dilation field with extremely interesting interactions across the entire game. Intuitive changes to each of his abilities that can occur when he's inside his ultimate area. Olorun is our first big surprise god after a string of highly requested ones. We strongly believe that both types of character are important to SMITE. Olorun brings a new culture to SMITE, and also new game mechanics. Both of these aspects being so impressive that he becomes SMITE's new King of Olympus and ruler of the gods. And he will be revealed this Wednesday in the evening or Thursday, depending on where you are. Our new king has been crowned. Are you ready to rule the battleground? I, for one, can say I am not ready because I'm typically not an ADC player, and as such, I'm not expecting to play him much. And I am not expecting that playing against him is gonna be all too fun. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We have the information from here, but we also have some older data mining. We can piece a lot of that together. For example, we know that he has an ability that increases in range when you charge it up, And that, according to the data mining, is his 1. So that already matches. And his 1 has got an interaction with the passive, which is the critical strike chance. And what it seems like is that using the 1 will give you a critical strike chance on your basic attack, because in the article it confirms that the critical strike is on the basic attack. The crit chance is not 100% though, and it only starts if you reach a certain amount of power, at least according to the data mining. And that would mean that maybe you have to use the 1 first on a target, and afterwards when you hit that, you have a chance to then crit with your next basic attack. How much damage those will do exactly is another question though, because they will probably not scale with power normally, but rather with the 20% scaling of basics that mages have, and we'll see how exactly that works because of the ridiculous numbers of power that mages can reach really. And we also know about the healing a little bit, because we know that the 3rd ability is the one that has an effect to heal allies. It seems to be some sort of AoE ability, and in the article again it was mentioned that he will be able to heal. The 2nd ability is still somewhat unclear. You have those orbs there that can somehow stack on top of each other, and I guess that is this steroid that is mentioned, so you somehow have orbs that you stack on yourself maybe. That would at least fit with his visual theme, but how exactly it works, again, is not quite clear. And then we have the elephant in the room, and that is of course the ultimate. I am skeptical, to say the least, that this is gonna work out properly, because I can't really imagine how it's supposed to function. I've seen abilities like that in the past. For example, again, in Battle Rite there is an ability that slows projectiles going through it. But the exact rules for how this one will work and the area of it are very, very important, and also how much the slow is. What would, for example, happen if, as a character with a long leap, I jump over the area that has the time slow? Would I still be slowed going through it, or am I untargetable for the area and will not be slowed? What happens to guards with high amounts of burst? A Habois could literally just knock you up and then use his 1 and ult you, and maybe even use his 1 again before you land on the ground again, depending on how long this knock-up is, how long the slow for this knock-up is, because this knock-up is relatively long anyways, and that to me seems scary. Also, what happens to guards with self-setup, like for example a Willish? Do we have to wait longer until the enemy is actually knocked up because the knock-up animation ends up being slower? What happens to guards like Medusa? If you're ulting someone in that area, are they slower with turning around as well? Because that would feel rather unresponsive with the mouse allowing you to turn less than normally. There are so many unanswered questions that it makes it very hard to figure out how exactly this ability will actually work. The part that has me worried is the fact that only enemies get slowed. If Olorun himself didn't get slowed and gets his amplifications during the ultimate, that's fine with me. You can balance the character around that. But with every other ally not getting slowed as well and being able to interact normally with enemies, it basically means that every other guard has to be somewhat balanced around working okay with this ultimate as well. And I don't know how well that will work. I guess it depends a lot on the amount of slow as well. But yeah, I really wonder about that. I also wonder what happens if you get out of the area. Is it just in the area that time is slowed? And when the area fades, will all the abilities hit you super fast? Basically, can you like pre-stack abilities or shots going into it, and then if the enemy stands on the other side, they will be hit by 3 basics very quickly if they stand in the wrong place afterwards? That would be a cool mechanic, but also scary. So yeah, a lot going on that we don't know about. And I could imagine that maybe it gets scaled down to the degree that everyone but Olorun gets slowed in the ult eventually, but we'll have to see. Now I know that some people already think that he's OP, which I can't say anything about because we don't even know the whole kit yet. But what I want to point out in that regard here is that it seems that his CC, from what we were able to find, is rather low. There is a slow on the ultimate, of course, but even in the data mining, the only thing that was found other than that was a slow in the 3, and who knows if that's still there. And I don't see any escapes anywhere. Now, of course, you can use the ultimate to escape as well. You can slow the enemy when he engages on you, and you just run through that thing faster or something. But that doesn't always work, depending on which angle you get attacked from as well, and depending on how large the area is. So I think this guard will definitely have weak points to even him out. But I would not be surprised if he's released on the stronger side just based on what we know about the kit so far. How the numbers are in the end, is another story that we'll yet have to see about. A lot of his scary potential definitely comes from combos with the ultimate, and we'll have to see how that all works together. Like, for example, if beats or Aegis or something would work at the same speed, and that we'll learn about it. With that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, feel free to click the sub button and maybe the bell. It really helps me out. And I will also drop a code somewhere in the description probably. Should be worth checking out. See you for the next one probably later, because I'm probably going to make another E3 video. If you haven't checked out the one from yesterday, I highly recommend doing so. There's some really cool games in there. One that I particularly have in mind that I'll probably talk about more in the future as well. DukeSloth, out.